Guys, check out what I just found. They don't make pickup trucks like this anymore. And I want to put this on the Classics channel because this particular Chevy C1500 Silverado is a 1995 model, which means it's basically 25 years old, which makes it a collector item, which also makes it a classic, which is really hard to believe because this is actually a fairly high-tech truck. But in this video I wanted to show you around the truck, show you the sticker, the original sticker from 95, and just kind of talk about a truck that's a configuration of a truck that's no longer available. And by that I mean it's a two-door half-ton truck with a short bed, and it's a two-wheel drive. Of course you can go out to your dealership right now and pick up a truck, a two-door regular cab Chevy, but those now only come with an 8-foot bed, basically a work truck. And this is more of a sport version of it, although this is not an SS or a sport. And another thing that you don't see anymore, let me show you a little glimpse of that. And that's of course a 5-speed manual transmission in a pickup truck. Take a look, 3 pedals. And this truck has a little bit of a story, and I'll tell you the story as I go around it. But if you can see, there's no more rubber cover on this clutch pedal, and part of the reason is because this clutch is really stiff, so it's kind of a trucky transmission. So it's not really a sports car with an easily engageable clutch. But this truck has actually been in New Mexico and Arizona for all of its life, and has a couple of really unique visual cues. At first, has this skirt and the running board, it has a rail on the bed, and it has these covers on the taillights. And I found it here on the farm in New Mexico. It belongs to actually my wife's grandfather, and it's a really neat truck. It has no bed liner, but it has a rubber mat. But look at the condition of this truck. I mean, it barely has a nick or a scratch on it. It's 25 years old, and it has a pretty interesting power plant. Well, very common power plant actually, but this was an option. So let me actually pop the hood and kind of show that to you. And at the end of the video I'll also let you hear the Chevy 350. Of course, this has a 350 cubic inch 5.7 liter V8, and it's really, the spring here is a little bit stiff, but here it is, electronic fuel injection. So this is not a carbureted engine, but according to several stat sheets, and this engine produced anywhere between 190 and 210 horsepower when it was new, around 300 pound-feet of torque. But for such a lightweight truck, this two-door, two-wheel drive, this was a lot of power back then. And this car, of course, this truck started out with a 4.3 V6 engine option, which is actually, in another iteration, is still available. That 4.3 V6 is still in the Chevy lineup. But this, of course, was the biggest engine option for this particular truck. It was called a C1500 because C stands for two-wheel drive, and K used to stand for 4x4. And the Silverado was actually a trim package. So that was actually one of the higher end trims. You could see kind of the Silverado badge on the door. But of course, this is a very simple engine. In 96 they increased the power output on this engine, but this is still a 95 model. Let me show you a little bit on the inside. See, this truck was also used it was being towed behind an RV. So it's actually, we don't actually know exactly how many miles are on the engine. We know how many miles are on the truck because it's been rolling behind an RV. Sorry, let me get back to the interior. But the odometer shows about 100 and 34,000 miles. So right there, hope you can see it. So if you guys know Chevy trucks, you might be familiar with this. This is basically a 4th generation Chevy pickup truck platform. And it was actually around between 88 and the mid 90s or late 90s. And they haven't changed their overall gauge layout for a while back then. And this is a bench seat with kind of a console in the middle, so you could use it kind of as a two-person bucket or a 3-person truck, although you do have to shift gears, so the middle person may struggle in the middle. But before I fire this up, let me show you some of the original really cool sticker information. So check it out. This truck was originally rated at 13 city, 18 highway. And here's the pricing. So it started at $14,847. It has about $3,700 of options right here. It has a $1,000 discount for the manual transmission. Final price $18,200. In '95, rolled off the dealership floor for that price. And that's actually really interesting. I actually looked up inflation calculator and I put it in, and for '95 to right now, late 2019, using only inflation, this price would be around $30,500. And the really funny part about that is you could buy a brand new 2020 Chevy Silverado 2-door, two-wheel drive for about $30,000 as well. So that's really interesting how the pricing kind of stayed the same. Look, so the base equipment was 4.3 V6, 5-speed manual. And this has a 5.7 liter, like I said. 342 rear end. Really cool stuff. It's kind of a time capsule because look at the condition of it. Really neat. It had a couple of cup holders. Really neat design. Reminded me of some of the German cars where there's a lot of folding out of cup holders, and it's done really well. It has a charger, or actually up to 3 power outlets now. It used to be cigarette lighters. Of course, there's a little ashtray here as well. This truck is equipped with a aftermarket trailer brake controller, so it can tow and it will tow. So let me fire this up and see, get some revs going. Another part of optional equipment is remote door unlock, and it has power windows. Check this out. It has power windows, power mirrors. So it's kind of a basic truck, but it has a lot of options. And of course, they don't make this anymore. You cannot get a manual transmission in a full-size half-ton truck anymore. And you cannot get a short bed 2-door. So it's kind of a bygone era. But let me fire this up. Boom! Comes to life really quickly. Really neat stuff. It's meant to be a truck engine. The red line is actually around 4,500 RPM, and it makes most of its torque, around 3,500 RPM, 3,000. So it's not a high revving engine. And I mean, these engines have been used all over the place: Suburbans, Tahoes, Blazers, even boats. I still have a ski boat with a 5.7 Chevy V8. So these engines were everywhere, and everybody knows how to work on them and how to fix them. They're fairly simple, really torquey engines. So how cool is this? Of course, there's the key still here. And I'm gonna actually go outside, and I'm gonna let you hear the exhaust system on this puppy. And of course, there's a beep, fairly annoying beep. Here's another quick look on the outside. I don't know what this truck is worth now. I mean, of course you could look it up, but it doesn't have a lot of miles. Maybe 50 or 60,000 on the engine, 100,000 on the chassis. It was being towed behind an RV for a while, and it's been well maintained. It's got a toolbox. It's got everything you need and kind of nothing you don't. I mean, it's been a warm weather truck in Arizona and New Mexico, so it's not a 4x4. And it's going to remain here in New Mexico for some years to come. And guys, well, thank you for joining me. I'm going to rev the engine and then sign off for TFL Classics. And of course, you can go back to tfltruck.com for more news, views, and real-world truck reviews. Let me fire this up.